Let's head straight to Yendi, where, as you know, it is the final day for the final funeral rite for Yaa-Naa Mahamadu Abdulai IV, who died in 1988. Justice Baidu joins me live from that place here. Hello, Justice. Justice. Justice, what is happening at the moment?
Had the arrival of the Vice President of the Republic of Ghana at the grounds here, here to grace this very important occasion. If you look just to my left, which is where the VIP shed is, you have the Vice President, the Northern Regional Minister, very, very senior members of the government and the New Patriotic Party, both in the region and at the national level, who have all come here to grace today's occasion. What the situation is now is we are currently expecting the arrival of the Bolin Lana, who would also acknowledge the presence of all of these people who have also come here to lend their support for the funeral today. If you look to my right, there is also a delegation from the Ashanti Regional House of Chiefs who have been sent here by the Asantehene Otumfuo Osei-Tutu, who is the leader of the Committee of Eminent Chiefs that have been working together to put together this peace roadmap that we are following through to have the peaceful resolution of this age-old chieftaincy conflict here in Yendi. So we are currently expecting the arrival of the Bolin Lana here to acknowledge the presence of the Vice President of the Republic and then also the other senior government officials who have also joined today's occasion. If you could hear from the background, there is still the firing of musketry. There's display of dance and culture. Just to my right, cultural troupe performers from the Ashanti Regional House of Chiefs and then the Ashanti Regional Center for National Culture, who have come in here following the delegation from Menchia at this very important occasion today. So Gifty, it is a total display of Ghanaian culture, not just Dagbon, but Ghanaian culture, because I've seen chiefs from outside the northern region. We've had chiefs from the Ashanti region, the two upper regions, who have all come here to pay homage to the Bolin Lana as part of this very historic funeral gift.
Well, Justice, earlier on you told us that the Bolin Lana is expected to go on a horse ride around the place. It is past 3 now. Has that happened? And what has been the reaction to this?
It hasn't happened yet. That historic riding of the horse by the Bolin Lana, which was expected to begin at 3, hasn't happened yet. And I suspect it is because of the Vice President's arrival, which happened just about 30 minutes ago. And so it sort of have changed the itinerary a bit. And so for now, I think the Bolin Lana will be coming in to, first of all, acknowledge the dignitaries that have come in before that traditional process happens. Gifty, I've just had the announcement that Major Retired Suleimana, who is the regent of the Tolon traditional area, who is also the chief warrior of the Dagbon state, is just making his entry into the yard now. And because of his status, when he's coming in, he has the firing of the musketry goes way higher than the other chiefs. And he has more warrior chiefs and subjects following him when he's coming in. And so if you can hear from the background, the firing of the musketry has gone up. There are more warriors who are firing musketry into the air. The police is trying to move the people out of the way in order that we are able to prevent any casualty as a result of the musketry that are being fired into the air now, Gifty.
And Justice, it is very interesting, the response of the people to the musketry when it is fired. And we can see that in your shot now, with the people, I beg your pardon, cheering them on. And we see the warrior, the chief warrior himself as well, coming through. The expectation, Justice, I believe, is that he will come all the way to where the vice president and where the members of the VIP are seated. It looks as if he's coming towards you, actually.
Gifty, you have to come again because the noise here has gone really high.
Very well.
The noise here has gone really high, and I can hear you.
Right, Justice, we earlier heard that there will be no speeches. We're seeing the arrival of the chief warrior, and I'm wondering what is going to happen from now once he arrives.
Yes, so the Tolona, who is the chief warrior of the Dagbon state, is sort of the person that is going to lead the chiefs, and his arrival here would signify the sort of the beginning of the traditional rites. And so, as I see it from here, he's going to be continue doing the display in the yard of the Bewa Palace as the firing of the musketry goes on. And the expectation then is that the Bolin Lana would also come out and then also go ahead and do his riding of the horse, which is the major highlight of today's activity. The police is really well represented here because the firing of musketry is really scary. If you haven't experienced it before, it's really scary. And we have young women, children, and young people all here. And so I understand they are trying to rearrange the setup here so that we are able to avoid any casualties that may arise as a result of the firing of the musketry. The way I see the people who are firing them, I doubt if they have any special training in terms of crowd control and all of that, and which is why the police would be very keen on ensuring that civilians who are here to witness today's celebration are safe. Gifty.
For the entire process to kick off. And from the way we are seeing things, this is a process that is going to be have very limited level of interaction, verbal interaction. Is it possible to get to speak to some of these young persons who have gathered there? When I interacted with them, one of the things they said is that they needed peace so that they can develop and they can live their own fulfilled lives. But is it possible to interact with some of these young people who, for them, this is a very new and rare development?
Yes, so we are going to try and move around to get some of the young people and the people who have come here to witness today's event. But because of the firing of the musketry, the police has moved many of them very far from where we are, and so we will need to move a bit away to get them to talk to. So I'm going to try to...
Justice Beidou, they're trying to get some of the young people there to speak to us on what's happening and how they feel about it. Really, this is all about the people. This is about the Dagbon people. This is about moving on for the people. This is about bringing to an end years-long of chieftaincy conflict between brothers from the same father. And as Justice said it, there's a lot of musketry going on there, and that musketry, if you are there, you know it is fierce. And as Justice describes it, if you have not felt it, you won't understand it. There are guns, I mean, there's gunshots all over the place, and it actually deafens you somehow. The people go agog when they see that. We'll be getting back to Justice to find out if he's been able to get some of the young people there, some of the people who have come to see this, for whom this may be a very first and rare sight, to find out what they think and what their expectations are going forward. Justice, do we have you back on there? Right. So Justice is trying to get some of the young people to speak to us. But if you've been following this conversation, it is the final day of the final funeral rite of Yaa-Naa Mahamadu Abdulai IV, who headed the Abudu Gate of that chieftaincy lineage. It's been a day that's come a long way. A day that's been anticipated because a lot of people have seen it to be the process to the end of this long-term chieftaincy dispute. What is going to happen is that after a week, following the end of this day, after a week, the Abudu Gate is expected to vacate the Bewa Palace for the Andani Gate to also go on with the final funeral rite of the late Yaa-Naa Andani, who was killed in 2002. We're bringing you live coverage, a very special coverage. What you're seeing in your shots now is the Vice President, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, who has just landed there at the funeral grounds. And there it is. It is the funeral grounds. It is happening live at the Bewa Palace. And JoyNews is bringing you that live coverage. We're told that there won't be speeches. There will not be speeches. There's going to be a ride around of a horse by the Bolin Lana, who leads the Abudu Gates. That has yet to happen. We were giving 3 p.m. up until 6 p.m. That has yet to happen. And as Justice explains, this may be partially due to the presence of the Vice President, who arrived about 40 minutes ago, we're told by Justice. And then we also saw the arrival of the Chief Warrior. And as I've indicated in some of the reports that we brought to you earlier, over there in Dagbon, you don't choose to be a warrior. You are born into a lineage of warriors, and you are called to task. And that call is a call that has to be heeded to. So the chief warrior obviously will come with a whole lot of warriors. And that is what we saw earlier on with the the sounds of the gunshots going all over the place. The warrior chief himself is landing, and so you'd expect a lot of that. The police has been trying to control the crowd. As you may well see, it's a huge crowd. And the Bolin Lana himself indicated that they will need some extra security hands and some extra health expert hands as well. We believe that that is happening because, as you can see, there has been no record of casualty at the moment. The police are trying their best to move the people and keep them in order and to keep them in check. That's what's happening at the moment. What we hear at the moment as well is that the horse riding has started, and that means that it is going to get very crowded. The people are going to go agog again, and it's going to be a very exciting moment for all of them there. Justice is still on the ground. Those are live visuals coming to you all the way from Yendi, and it is our special coverage of the final day of the final funeral rite of Yaa-Naa Mahamadu Abdulai IV. He died, by the way, in 1988. He has been buried. But this day is significant because it marks the end of his reign until a particular king has been buried and has had the final funeral rites observed as it is being done now. There cannot be a new Yaa-Naa, and that has been one of the reasons why the people are excited about this very moment. They are hopeful that in the next, after the next week, when the Yaa-Naa Andani family also go on with their final funeral rites, the processes to elect or the processes to select a new Yaa-Naa for the entire Dagbon will begin. We also know that there is a meeting ongoing at the Jubilee House by some Dagbon chiefs who are meeting President Kufuor over this matter. And we will be getting our presidential affairs correspondent Elton Brobe to confirm for us what the focus of the discussion has been. We can now go back to Yendi. where Justice Beidou is making an attempt to speak to some of the people there. We can listen.
Which is being led by the...
So watching the Pulse with me, Gifty and Up here. We're also bringing you a special coverage of the final day of the final funeral rite of Yaa-Naa Mahamadu Abdulai IV, who died in 1988. His precedes that of Yaa-Naa Yakubu Andani, who died in 2002. And that will happen. We'll bring you updates as well. We're live on the ground in Yendi, bringing you up to speed on that ceremony. The Vice President has arrived there. The Chief Warrior has arrived. We understand that the traditionally significant horse ride of the Bolin Lana has begun. We've lost Justice briefly there. But let's take a quick breather. We'll be right back with some more. Please stay with us. Welcome back to the show. Many thanks for staying with us. We're going back to Yendi, where Justice is standing by to speak to some of the young people there who have gathered at the Bewa Palace, observing the final day of the final funeral rite of Yaa-Naa Mahamadu Abdulai IV. As I said earlier, beg your pardon, as I said earlier on, this is a celebration of the moment for a lot of the people who are looking forward to the final settling of the matter by the selection of a substantive Yaa-Naa. Let's go over to Justice now. Hello, Justice. Justice, we're trying to get Justice on the line, but it's certainly a special coverage of the Dagbon peace process. Now, this has become possible following the Otumfuo-led Committee of Eminent Chiefs who developed this peace roadmap. And basically, this peace roadmap, it is expected that the Abudu Gate will have their funeral, the Andani Gate will have their funeral, following after which a substantive Yaa-Naa will be selected for the area. It's been a long process for the people especially, and for the women that I've spoken to. They want this to end because they and their children tend to be the vulnerable ones when there is no peace. We're trying to get Justice on the line to find out how that horse ride by the Bolin Lana has gone on so far, and to also find out what is happening there. Like I indicated earlier, this is supposed to be a moment of very few speeches, and so we're keeping our eyes on it to bring you up to speed. So since there are no speeches from the high table or from the top, we're getting to speak to the people on the ground, the people about who all of these concern. We have Justice joining me on the line now with what's the latest on the ground. Justice?
Hello, Gifty.
Justice, tell us what's happening.
So as I speak to you, Gifty, the Bolin Lana, led by very, very eminent chief of the Dagbon state, have just made their third round of going around the Bewa Palace. And so this is going to draw to a close the very significant traditional process of navigating the Bewa Palace, which is the major traditional highlight of today's event. And as you did see in the visuals which we showed earlier, the firing of muskets and thousands of people went into a frenzy. As I speak to you, Gifty, I can't even get a place to move an inch because every little space, every single space inside the inner perimeters of the Bewa Palace is filled to the brim. And so you can't even move an inch. It tells you the sort of interest people in Yendi and in many other parts of the Dagbon state have had in this process today. Many of the people that I've been speaking with have been telling me that it is because some of the people who are taking part in today's process, many of them have the funeral of a Yaa-Naa before. And I have with me here one of the young people who is also taking part in today's process. Why are the young people so obsessed with this process? I mean, they can so be happy with what is happening, because I told you earlier that for over 70 years or so, we have never had the funeral of a Yaa-Naa observed, in the traditional capital of Dagbon. So what is happening today is something that even old people in Dagbon have never witnessed. So all the young people have joined the old people, and they are here with that kind of frenzy to enjoy what in their lifetime they may never see again. So if it is an opportunity for you to come around and see the traditional rites that are going on, then you will not make that mistake to be far away, but to come closer to the Bewa Palace.
It indeed is look like a historic event, and many of the people here who have never seen something like this in their own land of birth, not wanting to miss such an occasion, have come in here. And like I did say, there is no space to move an inch if you are here today. The entire Bewa Palace is filled to the brim. You can't even move an inch. My cameraman is even struggling to just move the camera from the location where he is in order that he's able to get some visuals for the work that we are doing. It is really difficult. The numbers here, the sheer numbers, I'm struggling to find words to describe them. So how do you feel about the security concerns also about the number of people who are here now?
You see, one thing, the security concerns are really something that we have to be worried about, because you have, just some few meters away from where the circumambulation of the palace is taking place. You have the temporal palace and the Kampa Yaa-Naa and it's It's people that are still at the temporal palace. So that means that a little bit, chaos can, shift the whole thing into something that we cannot manage. So, but we are thankful that, the security looks up, as if they are up to the task. And so far, we believe that nothing really would be untoward. So I think for now, what is happening, the crowd is unmanageable. But then, we thank God that all the people that have assembled here, all the people that have gathered here are looking to see the beauty of their program. And so nobody is going to do anything that will cause, some little bit of chaos. So we believe that there may be security concerns, but really nothing will happen. We believe that.
And those are hopes that people here could only have. Those are hopes that people here could only have. But Gifty, I have covered mammoth rallies. I've covered rallies and gatherings of people, but I've never seen anything in the scale of which I'm seeing now. The number of people here is really huge, and later in the day when we pipe the visuals through, you would also see the extent of the crowd that we have here. But like I said, the security is really tight here, and so hope that nothing untoward happens.
Yeah, nothing untoward will happen. It's going to go live, everything, everybody will retire, nothing will happen. But I'm telling you, you see, what is happening is this. There are different kingdoms that have, come together to join the Dagbon kingdom to celebrate this, historic event. You will have, the people from the Moshi land, as far as Burkina Faso, coming to observe what is happening here. Then you have people from the Nano kingdom. I just told you there are chiefs and paramount, the chiefs from the Nano kingdom. I showed you one of the chiefs, the great warriors of the Nano kingdom, that is the colonel of Nano. He was on hostage, also circumambulated. So you will have other kingdoms that also join, people from far places. As for the Dagbon kingdom, the paramount chiefs of the Dagbon kingdom, for instance, you have the Tolon Sahar, that is the Tolon regent, the chief warrior of the Yaa-Naa kingdom, coming with his warriors as many as over 2,000. I can only estimate that 2,000 warriors could be counted so that he moved into Yendi. As for the other subjects and sympathizers that he came with, we cannot count. So if you have the Tolon regent, then the Sierra regent, you have the Tolon regent, the Tanzan, the Zosaligo, so many. I told you that our kingdom has as many as over 400, chieftains. Over 400 chieftains. So you will have all the chieftains that will assemble and their warriors to take part in the. So it's really kind of kind of both is already important. But nothing at all that can show you. If you can still hear in the background, Gifty, the firing of musketry is at its peak. The firing of musketry is at its peak, and there seems to be no end in sight for when this is going to end. Actually, Gifty. The crowd keep pouring in, and as I speak, even with the thickness of the crowd at the moment, many more people are coming in.
Right. Well, Justice, we'll have you catch your breath. We'll come back to you shortly, momentarily, and to find out what the Bolin Lana has been doing on the horse riding there. But let's bring you a story that Justice did earlier about women and how key a part they are of the Dagbon traditional setup and what they're doing even at this funeral. Several of them from both the rival gates of Abudu and Ndani came together to show their culinary skills and to cook food for the thousands expected at this funeral ceremony, which actually ends between today and tomorrow morning. Justice Bedu has that story.
All hands on deck. Women, one of the key pillars of the modern-day Dagbon society, doing one of the many things they do best, cooking ahead of what should be a big day.
Nearly every hand here in Yendi today is very, very busy ahead of the big day. Just behind me are the women who are busy at work cooking many traditional Dagbon foods ranging from tuozafi to many other foods, awaiting for over 40,000 people estimated to be here for this very, very historic funeral.
Fufuo, shinkafa no wache, jollof, pesi, duani pia upewa ha ubanya.
It's been a long time coming, and people here have been waiting for this funeral for decades. This is the family home of the late Yaa-Naa, where his wives lived. And it is from here that some of the thousands who would be trooping in for his funeral would be fed.
We are trying to close up the Abudus and Ndani. You find a house that is belonging to Ndani, but you find Abudu inside the house, the visitor inside, living in the house. I mean, the women living there, cooking, doing everything there together. If you go to Katin, which is the key, a key to the funeral, it's full of women. So women have a key role to play when it's time for Yaa-Naa funeral.
There's variety of food being cooked here today, from shinkamfa, wache, and even jollof rice. This funeral may be a solemn moment for many people in this town, but it sure promises to also be a good time to make merry, and there would be plenty of food to go with the party. Justice Bedu, JoyNews, Yendi.
Justice Bedu filed that report. I beg your pardon, and justice is still on the ground in Yendi whilst Dagbon is observing that particular funeral.